And then guess what? They're not going to answer the phone. You're going to email them. They're not going to answer. Let the system automate your process.
Okay.
That's how you scale.
What is the best piece of advice that you have gotten?
And so I see so many business owners that have cards on file. Stop. I just made you $18,000 for the year. That's $18,900 that goes back into our pocket. All right. So we have Marcos, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Marcos.
And
Give us a snippet where you're at in business. I see you all the time in the comments. You're with Estrella Lawns, right?
yep,
Let's
Estrella. A
go.
lot of people call it Estrella, but it depends how you pronounce it. So it's actually Estrella. It's supposed to be Estrella, like a star in Spanish, but it's people just call it Estrella. But we're in Vancouver, Washington. From your experience, what would that look like if we were to get two employees, four guys, in all, with a goal of 300,000? We have two trucks.
All right. So, okay. So you do have two trucks. Perfect. I would just make sure that you
Yes.
have two people in each truck at all times. So, like when one person quits, when one person is like not sick or not feeling well, like you step in, or maybe your dad steps in to help out. Like the goal is, and like at the beginning, like you're only doing 45K right now, I believe. Um, I would still overhire and put butts in each seat because if they're not mowing a lawn or trimming a bush, they need to be handing out flyers, like i.e. door hangers,
Absolutely.
all spring. And eventually, as they do that for 4 to 6 hours a day, the following week, there's going to be a lot of calls and there's going to be a lot of stuff scheduled. So they're not going to be doing flyers forever. It's temporary. But if there is any break in the schedule or if it's too wet outside, we're doing flyers. You know what I mean? Like we're pushing
Okay.
sales for those first March, April, May. That's the money maker right there.
Okay. And the plan for us is, since I'm like the only one that speaks fluent English, so I'm in charge of like the sales, answering the phone. Um, how do you think we should do it if we put my dad as in charge of like the guys when they go out to mow lawns, do projects? Should I focus on sales only and just get jobs, or should I be in the field too?
Is your dad going to be in the field?
Yes, he's going to be in the field.
Okay, so to be honest, at a $300,000 company, whoever's managing the crews, right? Because or the crew or crews, I guess you got two, should be working in the field also 3 to 4 days a week. And on the fifth day, they are either doing interviews in the morning and then estimates in the afternoon, or like maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're doing estimates for half days, but then in the afternoons, but in the mornings, like you're out in the field working. At a $300,000 business, your business is not going to afford somebody who just only does sales all day per se. Um, or just like is always in the office all day. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's too small to there's not enough revenue. So
Okay.
everybody is producing. Everybody needs to be producing 75% or more of the time. And the other 25% that they're not producing, they're selling. And you don't have to be the only, like, you don't have to clearly be like, hey, I'm going to be the only one to sell. Like, have your team sell, give them upsell bonuses,
Absolutely.
give them flyers and say, hey guys, when you're done with your route today, even though you only have a few jobs, like, we're not getting off until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So when you're done
Right.
mowing lawns at 1, we're all going out and doing flyers, you know?
Awesome. Okay. And that's what I was. That's the reason I asked the question. If we're going to get two guys, I feel like we could do more than 300,000. If we have two guys and I'm in the field too, and then my dad's in the field with four people, do you think it's possible to get more?
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to sit down and you want to break down like how much revenue can one employee pull in a month, right? So for us, concern now again, everybody's different. You may have like bigger equipment. We only use 21-inch push mowers. Like so for us, if they're solo, they can typically do about 12K a month. But in the summer and spring, we put two butts in a seat. So when you do that, you do lose efficiency. So I'd say being very, very conservatively, I think they could do 10, but let's just call it 8,000, right? So now you got 8,000 per head. So that's 16K, 8 plus 8 is 16, $16,000 that one truck can pull in a month in the busy season. And so now you can start to work backwards. Well, if you can do 16K a truck and you got two trucks, that's $32,000. That is your max capacity is
Okay.
$32,000 if you're in the our model business, right? And so ideally in the busy season, which is typically 6 months out of the year, it's maybe more, maybe less. But if you can do 32,000, if you put four guys in the truck times six, that's already $192,000, right? So you're gonna have your slower
Okay.
season in the fall, you in the winter. I think 300,000 with two trucks, if you're in our business model where you don't have bigger equipment and trailers and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
extra stuff, I think 300,000 is probably going to be close to your max. You may be able to get away with like 320,
Okay.
but I think 300,000 is a achievable number.
Do you think we'll be able to retain two employees that we hired during the spring throughout the winter?
What I have found is that you typically go down to about one third of your workforce. That's just what
Okay.
I found. And I'm talking December, January, February. You can make it work in November, you can make it work in March, right? There's kind of a gray area where you can kind of keep them busy and doing stuff. But like the last thing you want to do is try to keep all your guys as busy when there's not a lot of work in December, January, February. I think if you pay them well and you treat them right, they'll come back. Also, you're
Yeah.
going to keep your core dudes anyways. So to be honest, like, I mean, they're I think this year we got up to like eight or nine in the summer. Well, we're down to five, we're down to four now at our main location because our fifth one just
Okay.
started our second location. So like as you can see, that got cut in half. And even now, like the hours are kind of slim. Just being
Yeah.
honest, they're kind of slim right now, and everybody's, not getting 40-hour weeks. They're just not. We're getting like 25-hour weeks. It's a little slow, you know. Um, and then if one of the guys leaves, that opens up more hours for the other guys, you know. It's tough. Just know you're gonna go down to probably about a third of your team.
Would you recommend like pesticide applications like throughout the first year, adding that into our services like fully on? That's considered simple services, right?
Um, there's some complexity to it.
Yeah.
There's some complexity to it. So there's a reason why Mike Andes keeps it with just light landscaping and mowing. We're building a model to do light landscaping, mowing, and weed control. Those are our three cores, right? There is some complexity to it. There's more equipment that you got to buy. You got to deal with wind speed, weather. You have to be licensed. You got
Yeah.
to get a license. You have to renew it every year. You need to know like different types of weeds and all that stuff can be learned, right? Like um it does add a layer of complexity. However, it does add a layer of profitability because on that service, we find 35-40% profits.
Yeah.
On mowing, maybe 10. On landscaping, maybe 25%, give or take. So it just depends. Like what your goal is and what you want.
Yeah, we were thinking of adding that in because it also adds profit and it also allows you like fertilization. The grass grows even more. So that means you'll mow more often. So
So like for us, we only take on customers that have mowing and weed control. We don't even touch the customers that have just mowing. So what that does is each one of our customers off the bat is at least a $2,000 customer. So number one, the value of the customer doubles basically, you know, not really doubles because mowing is very expensive, but um, per customer, ours is higher than typical landscapers, right? These type of customers really care about their bushes and mulch, so it's a lot easier upsell versus like maybe just the biweekly customers that only want biweekly. They don't care about their bushes. They don't clean up their dog poop. You know how it is. So and then typically the lifetime value of the customer is longer with us just because like versus just a customer that just wants mowing. I don't know. We just find that like
yeah.
there's less churn, I think, and yeah, their value's greater, But it's whatever you guys want. It's from a long-term play, it's a little bit more difficult to have the business run by itself because now you got to find somebody who's licensed.
Before this spring, we also right now we don't have much customers that have their card on file, but we want to definitely have that change. We want to have everybody's cards on file, auto pay. Would you recommend having giving the customers a call before the spring rush to have the cards on file or sending an email? What do you think would work best?
I would do an email first. That way you might get convert 20% of them. And
Yeah.
then I would blast them an email every week, once a week. Hey, this is our new policy. We need a card on file, blah, blah, blah. And then after 3 weeks of doing that, then you call them. And then that way you
Okay.
could that's what we did to try to get our cards on file. It'll take less admin time that way. If you have Copilot, you can text them, switch it up. Maybe one week you text, maybe one week you email. After a few times of hitting them and they don't respond, what you can do if you want is just grandfather those in. This is what we did in our beginning days is like instead of making all of these huge main changes and then like kind of like really affecting our business that we're like you want to retain your $45,000 annual business right now, but you also want to build and like 5x at a scalable thing. What we did is we just grandfathered those people in. We used to offer mowing only. And you know what we did? We just grandfathered them in. We didn't force them and say, hey, you have to sign up for weed control. Now we upsold them a lot, but we just grandfathered them in and said, moving forward, when a new customer calls, this is our policy. You have to have our weed control. All of our customers are like that moving forward since 2024 because we want to be the best. We want our lawns looking the best. And that's when you say, hey, all of our cards or all of our customers do require a card on file. That's just our policy. To be
Definitely.
to even get on the schedule, we need a card on file. And 99% of them are say, okay, here you go.
Do you use the feature to that before accepting an estimate, it requires them to have a card on file? Do you take advantage of that feature? Or do you think it just adds friction?
I 1000% would take advantage of that feature. If they're not willing to put a card on file,
It says a lot about.
yeah, and they're not our customer. Um, so it helps weed out the people that aren't really serious, and it takes zero admin time. And when we have two locations now, and if I had to go back and forth with somebody on the phone constantly about like getting their card on file, even though they accepted the estimate, but they don't have a card on file, now it's just weird. Like now I gotta call them and say, hey, you need a card on file. Even though you accepted the estimate, I can't actually schedule you yet. And then guess what? They're not going to answer the phone. You're going to email them. They're not going to answer. Let the system automate your process.
Okay,
That's how you scale.
got it. So a lot of people said that it adds a lot of friction and stuff like that. So we were thinking if we want to grow, we want to get as much customers as possible and to have that feature out, it would be best just to have it on this spring, upcoming spring. Even though we may lose out on some leads, maybe from older people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And like it's weird, man. Like there's part of business where it's like you got to hustle and grind to pay the bills and like be lenient with some stuff. But then as you start to like gain friction or not gain friction, gain ground and like you start getting real busy, you start with like, okay, hold on, we can't like I can't just chase down all this cash.
Yeah,
I can't chase down this check when the lady doesn't put it under the mat. I don't have time for this. Like, and then when that part comes, you can start to shift. So I'll give you an example. Like in the wintertime, we used to expand our territory. In the wintertime, we used to do like weird one-off services that we don't normally offer, like scalping a lawn or one-time mows. Why? Because we just need to work for the 3 months. But 9 months out of the year during the growing season, this is our policy. We're very clear, you know?
yeah,
So you can customize it however you want. Like if you guys
yeah,
really do want to like if your priority is growing gross revenue and top line, maybe you don't require card on file, but you kind of push them towards it, you know?
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but then 12 months from now, we'll be sitting down and saying, all right, let's get them all on
Yeah.
card off. You know,
Yeah.
it's easier to do it now than later.
What is the best piece of advice that you have gotten that you think most business owners in this industry don't know about or they neglect?
Okay, this is going to be a little bit further than where you're at. This is a really good question. And I think I'm going to make a lot of people a lot of money right now. Okay. For the people that require cards on file for all of their customers, let the customer pay the transaction fee. For the first 2 years that we charged cards on file, we paid the processing fees, and they're very minimal. It's like 2.5%, 3%. And what we found, in fact, Larissa's dad recommended this to me, and I'm like, well, no, it's going to raise their price and it's going to go up a buck or two, and they're not going to do it. And they're like, look, he used to own an amusement park and he had a credit card scanner, and the people would come and put their card in, and it said on the sign, there's also a 2% processing fee, and the people still ran their card. It's a convenience fee. And so I see so many business owners that have cards on file that are still paying the authorization fee for the customer. Stop. Literally, the year that we did $630,000 in annual revenue, if you multiply that by 3%, that's $18,900 that goes back into our pocket
Wow.
because they're paying the fees. Why do I have to pay? Do you know what this is? That's
Truck.
two trucks. That's two trucks that can go make me $320,000 for the year. That's what that is. You know what that $19,000 is? Is 30,000 flyers that's going to go out and quadruple your business in the springtime. That's what that money is. And people leave that on the table. Anybody that's watching that's literally charging cards on file and paying the processing fees, I just made you $18,000 for the year. Like it's insane. So
Absolutely.
yeah, hopefully that's good stuff.
No, definitely no. I got a lot of golden nuggets from this, like you say.